After almost 20 years of experimenting with different porch designs in our region, I finally managed to come up with an option that has stood the test of time. So hello everyone? If you attach a large decking board to a metal frame, you get an option that really lasts. In our main house, the main porch is quite impressive in size. 6 steps, each 3 meters wide. And every time we had to redo it, the amount of work was just overwhelming. It was no joke. To achieve the desired comfortable width, I used 2 standard decking boards and 1/3 of a board cut lengthwise. The board I bought is 140 mm wide and 27 mm thick. This is the most common standard in our regions that are neither larch nor Siberian. Since the step frames, which I welded from steel profile pipes, were originally made for a different filling, attaching the decking boards to them requires some adjustment. The previous filling, which I thought was made from a fairly innovative material for porch work, did not stand the test of time. If I had made these frames for decking boards from the start, I would have made them even simpler. Just frames of square pipes with crossbars, all in one plane. Mine aren't, so I need to cut the boards. The main principle here, in my opinion, is very simple and clear. It's very easy to make a rabbet on the edge of the board with simple hand tools, a handsaw and a chisel with the porch. In our central region, many people struggle. We struggle too. It's the same for both the front and yard-facing sides. My parents have trouble with it too. They have 2 concrete porches with frost-resistant ceramic tiles designed for steps. This type of covering needs major renovation every 7 to 10 years. Many neighbors struggle with this, as do friends and acquaintances, and it's all because of our Belarusian climate. It's kind of, pretty mild, but that's only at first glance. Here in the Homel region, we have about 50 freeze and thaw cycles each winter on average, and that's no joke. When water freezes, it expands and can break even the strongest materials. Water cracks bricks, breaks concrete, and tears up road asphalt. That's why such materials last well for a couple of seasons, until micro cracks appear, which then quickly turn into cracks, and that's the end for the material. I chose not to make the grooves on the front board as wide, so the Renovator tool is especially useful for this. Once I gave my dad a Renovator tool as a gift, but for some reason he didn't find a proper use for it. He relies on his angle grinder for everything, but for some reason didn't like the Renovator and eventually returned it to me. But I always find work for the Renovator. I'm doing the same on the other side. Bolts are welded to the step frames for attachment to the porch base. I also cut out spaces for their welded heads. Let's move on. I carefully coat the boards in several layers with reliable terrace oil. I also paint the step frames responsibly. I drill out holes previously used for other fasteners. I'll show all the convenient proven steps in this video, but a bit later. If you don't skimp on silicone sealant, you can make the steps non-squeaky. Water that often freezes can damage many classic building materials, but lumber made from Siberian larch has proven itself excellent over time, even with frequent contact with water. Even for steps as large as ours, we only needed 14 3-meter boards. Water also cannot cause serious damage to iron that has been protected by painting for a very long time. That's why this option was chosen for the third porch version. I'm fastening the boards from underneath flush. I'm using 6mm self-tapping screws, choosing a length that ensures most of each screw anchors in the boards. Larger diameter self-tapping screws should hold better. My step metal profiles have various cross sections, so I use self-tapping screws in different lengths. Some turned out to be for a Phillips head, some for a wrench. It doesn't really matter. I apologize for the fisheye image because I believe this version of the porch has stood the test of time. As you understand, I shot this footage quite a while ago, and back then I didn't have another camera with a better lens. I'm laying the boards with small gaps. Because the boards aren't perfectly straight, clamps are sometimes needed to keep gaps even. When I was welding this porch, I was just starting out in welding, so please don't judge the quality of the welds too harshly. I'll start getting better from here on out. These lights were on the previous version of the porch, so they'll be on the new one too. A jigsaw works great for making a round hole. The renovator comes to the rescue again. I'm not sparing the silicone again. The fact that the steps are attached with bolts is very convenient, and in constructions where different filling options are periodically tested, it's very practical. It turned out to be a nice porch with a canopy, though getting there was not simple or easy. Attaching the boards to the frames is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to come about the mistakes. The original porch in the house project purchased from professional architects also had an unnecessary platform. The unnecessary platform gave the house a petty bourgeois look, and it didn't allow for a properly sized porch roof. A solid worker peasant canopy instead of a small awning over the door, and a good canopy in the middle zone is really necessary. I also made a mistake choosing red brick for the steps. Without a canopy and just covered with tiles, they deteriorated quickly. The unnecessary part of the platform will be turned into a flower bed. With this reduction of the upper porch platform, the design of a canopy of adequate size began to take shape, a canopy that would not ruin the entire appearance of the house. And ruining the appearance is the easiest thing to do. During intense construction, there was no time to consider practicality. They simply followed the plans and built the project. I started welding the iron frame. At first, I wanted to put the new steps right on top of the old ones to try to minimize the amount of work. I also made innovative step fillers out of plywood, covered on both sides with fiberglass and epoxy resin. No matter how I adjusted it, the steps stuck out too far and the top landing kept getting larger. There was nothing else to do, so I rolled up my sleeves and completely took apart the brick steps. I used composite rebar, reinforced thoroughly, poured concrete, and placed the new steps where the old ones were. The bricks of the side curbs under the tiles had also partially crumbled. I removed damaged ones, leave intact ones, set up formwork, tie rebar, and pour concrete. I didn't forget about the embedded parts for the railings either. If you're going to do it right. So at the same time, I'm redoing the upper platform as well, lowering it by a few centimeters. In winter, snow kept getting under the door. With the lowered platform, it stopped piling up. Improving my welding skills, I made this beauty out of store-bought forged blanks. I remember how in the good old days, I brought these blanks from nearby Chernihiv. Back then, they weren't sold here yet. And our Belarusian customs officer kept trying to find out what final product I was planning to make, probably to apply customs duties to it. I kept insisting I'm a free artist. I might get drunk and nothing will come of it. For now, these are just parts and aren't subject to customs duties. Comrade Major let me through, joking that these women don't understand anything. Problems seemed like problems that weren't really problems at all. On the next trip, I brought material for extending the railings. Even the world-renowned yachting technology quickly began to give in to the Belarusian climate. I'm talking about the filling and the homemade plywood composite. For me personally, construction and finishing materials fall into two categories. The first are materials that are easy to work with, even without construction skills. The second are those that are difficult to work with, even if you have construction skills. The porch canopy and the rest of the roof are all covered with techno-nickel shingles. Professional roofers charge a lot of money for this kind of roofing work, but you can save 100% on labor costs if you do all the work yourself. And it's not as difficult as it might seem, because techno-nickel soft shingles belong to the first category of materials, meaning they're easy to work with even without construction skills. When it was time to redo the leaky roof of our utility block this year, I didn't hesitate for long. I bought Shinglass Technonical flexible shingles again, this time in country brown with a dragon's tooth cut. Thanks to this cut, installing them doesn't require matching the pattern at all. And I handled the installation of the shingles easily. My younger son, German, he's already 16 years old. He helped me out a lot. The roof of the utility block immediately took on new shades, while still maintaining a classic, authentic look. Here's a material from the second category that's hard to work with, even if you have construction skills. We decided to do this. But we decided to do it. But we decided this. But we decided to do it. 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 I installed it for him, but it only lasted 3 to 4 years. This stone isn't expensive, but it needs top quality installation. Not every craftsman can match the pattern well, but those who do ensure beautiful selection and quality installation. They ask for a lot of money for the work. Careless workers also ask for quite a bit of money. But after them, you'll definitely have to redo everything yourself or pay a lot of money again. Since the thickness of flagstone varies quite a bit, you need a lot of high quality frost resistant tile adhesive to get a more or less even surface. All this makes this initially cheap finishing material one of the most expensive in the end. Because the porch sides were finished with natural stone before the renovation, like the base, walkway, and path, there were no other options. We had to buy a little more of it. By the time the stone arrives from the Rostov region and Krasnodar Krai, where it is actively quarried, its quality is not the best. I wash it very thoroughly. I dry it just as well. When we were building the house, an acquaintance of mine who's a truck driver brought stone directly from Rostov as a return load at a very good price and of quite high quality. If you don't have a pressure washer, you can clean it by hand using a wire brush. If we had bought it here in Homel, it would have cost significantly more, and our budget wouldn't have been able to handle that amount. But there's a lot of defective pieces in the newly purchased batch. A stone with visible cracks won't last long. To access the inner surfaces of the parapets, the steps are removed. What happened to them after this dismantling? You already saw at the very beginning. I'm reusing the porch's old stone. I learned to use a diamond blade to cut along leftover glue and bricks, which makes removing the excess much easier. The remaining cuts should improve adhesion. On pieces of fiberboard and cardboard, I duplicated the shapes of the surfaces that need formwork, and in this way, I transferred the fitting process to a horizontal plane. I'm not much of a specialist in this field, so I work the way that seems right to me. And this is a recently made angle gauge. It's a very precise measuring tool. Choosing the left side of the right parapet. Selection of the right surface of the left parapet. In this job, it's better not to skimp on the quality of the glue. Who knows why there's this piece of film in every bag? Selection of the right surface of the right parapet. The hardest part is laying the stone without leaving air pockets in the glue. If you use blobs of glue, it'll only hold for a few seasons before falling off. Oh, this material isn't for our region. It's great for the South, where frosts are rare. It's always a struggle for us. I regretted many times getting involved with this material to show off, but experience is the son of difficult mistakes. When laying it, never mess around. You must not get glue on the front surface of the stone. If a specialist says he'll clean it later, he's not a real specialist. True specialists don't get it dirty. I'm not a specialist, but I also try not to get it dirty. The most reckless choice is covering the roof pipes with wild stone. Then you'll always need a safety helmet just to walk around the house. In classic construction and finishing, there's a lot of thankless hard work. Maybe all of this had a strong influence on me. That's why now I consider reinforced extruded polystyrene and foam plastic to be some of the best building materials. The work to remodel this porch was done in pre-extruded polystyrene times. Now everything could have been different. You can support the channel through the Boosty service. The link is under the video. You can also support Yasha Kosiak's songs on YouTube through the sponsor button. My new videos are now released earlier on YouTube.
Maybe it would have been easier to just stick all the stones on at once without trimming them, and then mark and trim everything at once. But this way is good too.
I remember I got really tired myself back then, and I probably tired you out with all those shots of laying natural stone, so that's enough. I welded the so-called stringer of the staircase frame from parts that I made by cutting a 2mm steel sheet with an angle grinder. An extra sheet was in the way, so I used it. The rest is made from profile pipe. After finishing the first tiled porch, I had leftover aluminum angles with rubber strips. Since I spent about $200 on them, I carefully removed the angles from the first porch to reuse them. In the second version, the filling uses the yachting method. It's a classic, not a cheap construction. Due to them, I had to complicate the step frame construction. For the third version, I skipped the angles, saving the cost, and stored them in the shed for later use. I chose to stop redoing the back porch and demolished it instead. Then we cast new ones out of reinforced concrete and covered them with paving tiles. My wife carefully grouted the joints so that water and frost wouldn't wear them down. The second porch is just 1.5 years old and still in great shape. The first, built with decking boards and metal, has lasted 7 years with no issues. Give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the Yasha Koshek Songs channel, subscribe to the YouTube group, VKontakte TikTok, and Zen. All the links are below the video. Also, hit the bell icon. I'll keep you updated. Long live world peace. Thank you.